everybody, welcome back. My name is Mel and today I want to talk to you guys about 15 fantasy indie romance books that are on my TBR. As you guys know, the month of April is the Realm of the Readathon, and I am one of your co-hosts of Team Bale, which is dedicated to reading fantasy romances. And of course, the Realm of the Readathon is hosted by Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. I will link her announcement video down in the description box. If you have not already joined Realm of the Readathon, please consider doing so. It's going to be so much fun. We are going to crush and deplete all of the other magic, so please join Team Bale. I've already done a video, I'll link it up above, of my fantasy romance recommendations, but I figured I would also share with you some of the indie fantasy romances that are also on my TBR. And then I realized that like 90% of them were indie romances, so I figured, why not just make this an indie romance TBR? And the good thing is a lot of these are on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have that service, it'll be super easy to just click that download button for free and give it a try. I have not read any of these, so if they're trash, don't come for me. They just sound interesting. So the first two that I want to talk to you guys about are the only two that I own physically. The rest of them, I'll just pop the cover up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. The first one is A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker. K.A. Tucker writes a lot of contemporary romances, and I think this is her first foray into fantasy. And this book was gifted to me by the lovely Lamia over at Becca's Discord, and I have been eyeballing this one for quite some time. From what I can understand, this is about a girl, a street thief named Romira? Yeah, named Romira, who is stealing jewels in New York City for its most notorious crime boss, but then she gets like propositioned and ends up in a world of warring elven and elemental magic. She's supposed to steal a stone from the realm's secret guard without anybody knowing her true identity, but in order to do this, she has to marry the new king, and the new king absolutely hates her, but fortunately for her, she is more valuable to him alive than dead. She's going to quickly learn some monstrous truths that could spell ruin for all. This one has been on my radar for a while. I have heard that it ends in a little bit of a cliffhanger, so that's why I've been putting it off until we had a more concrete release date for book 2. I can't remember exactly when the second one is supposed to release, but I think it's upcoming. Pretty sure the second one already has a cover, so hopefully we're safe now. The next book that I wanted to talk about is King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. This one was gifted to me by Carrie from Carried Away Reads over on Instagram. And this is also the author of the pretty famous Hades and Persephone retelling. I have not read that book, but this one sounds really interesting, so I actually think I'm going to start here. This is a vampire romance where Isolde is about to be married off to the vampire king, and she tries to assassinate him, but obviously it doesn't work. And so he threatens that if she tries again, he is going to turn her into one of the undead, one of the things that she hates the most. But of course, it ends up not being the undead that she ends up fearing the most. It's her growing feelings for Adrian and her intense attraction to him. But she can't help but wonder why this king, this vampire, decided to make her his consort. And the answer is going to shatter her world. So it sounds pretty interesting. I have heard good things about this series, and I think the second one just got a cover, so hopefully we'll get a release date for it soon. Next up is River of Shadows by Karina Halley. This is another author that writes a lot of contemporary romances, and I have read a couple of her contemporary romances and really enjoyed them, but haven't read any of her fantasy stuff. And she also wrote Black Sunshine, which is another vampire romance that I think Becca read pretty recently. This book is based on Finnish mythology, which I found very interesting. It's about a girl, Hannah, who decides to travel from her home in LA to Finland when her father dies to make funeral arrangements. But when she gets there, she realizes his body has gone missing. Rasmus, a mysterious man, comes up to her and tells her that her father is a powerful shaman and has been taken down into the underworld. So of course she's going to try to save him, only death is inclined to make her a bargain. However, some sacrifices come with some really steep hidden costs. This one sounds super interesting. I've never read a book based on Finnish mythology before, so I am game. The cover is absolutely beautiful. I mean, check that out. So that's definitely on my radar. The next one that I wanted to talk about is one that I don't see mentioned very often, and that is The Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. This one was brought to my attention by Ash, also over on Becca's Discord. She is part of the Smut Den. If you guys have not joined Becca's Patreon, please join the Smut Den. We are happy to have you. This one is about a girl, and the tagline says, her life for freedom, her blood for love, her soul for vengeance. Tisana was ripped from her home as a child, and she had to abandon her family. When she goes back, she hears that her friend has gone missing, and so she has to travel to the Orders, which is like one of the most powerful magic associations. And in order to learn the magic that's going to help her save her best friend, she has to become the apprentice of a fearsome, brutal fire magic wielder. But there is also a war looming, and she's not going to stop at anything to save those that she has abandoned, even if it means wielding death itself. This one sounds really interesting. It was not on my radar until Ash mentioned it, but now I am very intrigued. Okay, moving on to one that I actually already have in audio because I've been eyeballing it for forever. I love the cover, and that is Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. This is another Fae romance. I believe it is a post-apocalyptic setting where the barrier between our Earth and the other world that houses the Fae fell like 20 odd years ago, and there's still a war for dominance going on. There is a lot of prejudice. Our main character, Brexley, has always grown up in privilege, but suddenly she is thrown into one of the most feared prisons. And there she meets Warwick, who is a cruel, brutal, and arrogant ruler of this prison. However, she is drawn to him, but now she is in a fight to survive in the games where there is only one who will survive. So it sounds very interesting. We've got Fae, we've got post-apocalyptic, and we've got some kind of brutal games. Enough said. Okay, so the next one is just one that sounded vaguely interesting to me, but I have not heard very many people talk about it, and that is Darkness Awakened by Stephanie Rowe. Basically, all I know about this one is it's a grumpy immortal warrior, a sassy modern-minded witch, and they team up to save her sister. Not a whole lot, but I have been looking for more witchy romances or witchy reads, so we're gonna give this one a try at some point. The next one sounds like a forbidden romance in a small town, which does sound very interesting to me, and that is Hollow Heathens by Nicole Fiorna and Sorovi Bain. Hopefully I'm not butchering that. But basically, Fallon was taken out of her home 24 years ago, and she returns to take care of her last living relative. And then we also have Julian, who is one of the cursed Hollow Heathens. And these are basically the dark creatures that the town fears. But Fallon is drawn to him like she's been here before. It sounds spooky, it sounds intriguing. I'm interested to see what these Hollow Heathens are all about, so we're gonna give that one a go too. So the next one is a duology, and I'm always looking for more like shorter series to tackle pretty quickly, and that is Within Obsession and Lies by Stacey Jones and Harper Wilde. This is a dark romance. And Arwen basically has a power that when anybody gets close to her, they become obsessed with her. So she can't trust anything that anyone says. But there are three men, Wrath, Viper, and Fear, and it says a mafia boss, a psychopath, and a killer that are more than they seem. And now monsters are getting too close and stalking Arwen, but the monsters are out for blood. And the problem is these guys aren't human either. So I am intrigued. I want to know more about this mafia boss, this psychopath, and this killer. Next one is A Layer of Bones by Helen Schuster, and it is a trilogy. It has a contest, which was super interesting, and it's also about, I think, sirens or something similar to the traditional siren. And so basically, sirens have a fortress below the ocean, and they've had this fortress for years. And Ro is the daughter of a criminal who's restricted to like the lower sector and works as a bone cleaner. But she wants to live above where all of the adventure and the power is. And when the Queen's Tournament happens, she is able to compete, and the winner is going to rule the realm. It sounds very interesting. I, again, haven't really heard anybody talk about this one, but I'm always looking for something with different mythology that's not your typical, werewolf, vampire, etc. So I'm intrigued. Next up, we have Spellbound by Rebecca L. Garcia. This is an enemies to lovers romance, and I think it's like a collection of standalones, so it's part of the same world, but you can read them in any order and they can stand by themselves. And it says that Elle has made it her purpose to become a keeper in her Curse Keeper coven of witches. When some witches are found murdered in the woods, the Curse Keepers become the town's only hope. They think an old god has returned in search of vengeance, but Elle suspects that it's the work of a new warlock in town. He's infiltrating her coven, but suddenly the rivalry becomes personal. Again, witchy, small town, murderous warlocks. Sounds great. Next up, we have The Bone Witch by Ivy Asher. This one has been on my radar for a while, and I just keep meaning to pick it up and keep not picking it up, so maybe April is that month. And it's about a girl where the bones have chosen her. It was supposed to go to someone else in her family, but she was counting on that. But suddenly she finds herself with all of this power, and she's trying to avoid trouble. However, trouble is already knocking at the door in the form of smoldering green eyes and a smile that can turn any woman dumb. And it sounds like a lot of the witches in her family have been coming up missing or have been turning up dead. And according to Rogan, she's next. But little do they know, she's the Bone Witch. Sounds super cool. I'm hoping it's a badass bone witch. Another one that gets really good reviews that I've had on my radar for a little while is A Court of Honey and Ash by Shannon Mayer and Kelly St. Clair. This says that it's for fans of Jennifer L. Armentrout, Sarah J. Maas, and Holly Black, some of the big names in the genre. And it's about a girl that is half human, that has been orphaned, and basically her life has just sucked, but things have started looking up recently. But when the world shatters and the Fae can no longer enter, she knows who did it. The secret might be the death of her. A brutal madness is spreading without the connection to this world, but she's going to fight for her people. However, she is being hunted by the man she loved once upon a time. I am very intrigued. Again, we've got a Fae world and obviously some kind of either second chance romance, enemies to lover romance, so I'm here for it. Another one that everybody has probably heard of by now, but I'm going to mention it anyway because it technically is an indie romance, is the Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti. I do also own this in audiobook. I got it during the Audible sale a few weeks back. And this is a story about where zodiac signs define your destiny. And I think it's like elemental magic, so air, water, fire, earth. And these twins are born in Gemini, which is an extremely rare event, and they can control all of the different elements. And they go to this school where they're going to learn to master all of these elements. I do know that it is a bully romance. I'm not exactly sure how the romance plays into it based on the blurb, but just be aware that that is the trope going in. I know some people are for and against bully romance, so there you go. All right, now we have A Ruin of Roses by K.F. Breen. This is a Beauty and the Beast reimagining where there's a kingdom that is locked in time and shifters are unable to feel or change into their animals. Nafian is the last dragon shifter and he is basically their only hope, but he is a nightmare. And when he finds our main character trespassing, he takes her back to the castle to try to use her because apparently only she can save him in this forgotten kingdom. But it's going to mean her ruin. I'm intrigued. I didn't think I really enjoyed Beauty and the Beast retellings, but obviously I love the ACOTAR series, which is sort of a Beauty and the Beast retelling initially, as well as the Curse So Dark and Lonely series, which starts off as a Beauty and the Beast kind of reimagining. So I'm very interested to give this one a try. Next up, we have Demon King by Elizabeth Briggs. It's the Claimed by Lucifer series, which I think currently has 4 books. And it is about a girl whose friend is missing in LA, and the only man that she can turn to is Lucas Eifer, the devil himself. He's dark, dangerous, and wickedly handsome, but he's also evil incarnate. But she's desperate, so in exchange for his help, he wants her body for 7 nights of sin. Worse, she's apparently his mate and can't remember any of her past centuries with him. I'm interested. That sounds really cool. And then the last one that I want to mention in full is Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRoux. This is a dark taboo romance, but sometimes, you just want a little bit of that. So I figured I would mention it. This is about Lon, who is a magician. One wrong move and you're dead. Ray has always believed in the supernatural, but something ancient and evil is calling her name, and the demon stalking her may be her only chance of survival. He wants her body and her soul. I have heard good things about that one. I haven't heard a ton floating around, but it is not one that is completely new to me. And then just some honorable mentions because I ran out of time and space and couldn't go over all of these. And that is the High Mountain Court by A.K. Mulford, the Midnight Fae Academy by Lexi C. Foss, Fireheart by Emma Hamm, which has dragons, and Fae's Captive by Lily Archer. So I think that those are all of the indie fantasy romances that are currently on my radar, on my current TBR. Let me know down in the comments if you've heard about any of these, if they were on your radar, or in particular, if you've read any of them and whether or not I should definitely read them or maybe tack them off of the list. Also, if you have any more recommendations for me, please feel free to leave those in the comments. I'm always looking for new books to get a hold of. Once again, I will try to link all of these down in the description box, as well as Cassidy's announcement video to Realm of the Readathon if you're watching this before or during April. Otherwise, I think that about covers everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you liked it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!